Hello everyone, hope we are doing well. There's transfer rumours everywhere at the minute, isn't there? There's still 5 weeks until the window opens, but I guess because there's only 2 weeks till the season finishes, the transfer rumours are just going to get more and more. I've done my best to keep up with them in the old pink book, but this transfer rumour show is a strikers edition. We're only going to be taking a look at 4 different players in this one. In my pink book, I've got only 4 names written down there. There you go, there they are, and I'm afraid this is as good as it gets on this show, or as bad as it gets. Hopefully it only gets better from here on in. But the 4 players we're going to be taking a look at, we've got Ollie Watkins of Aston Villa, we've got Nketiah of Arsenal, we've got Brereton Diaz of Blackburn Rovers, and we've also got Broja of Southampton. There we go. See what happens when I start capering, when I start mucking around with my system with the pink book. Things go wrong, but Broja of Southampton is the 4th player. 4 players we're all familiar with. It helps that they all play in England as well, but also, bar Ollie Watkins, the other 3 have been linked to West Ham for quite a while now, and quite regularly as well. Nketiah, Brereton Diaz, 2 names we're familiar with from over a year ago too. So, let's get discussing them, and I'm going to start with Ollie Watkins actually, because he is who I think is the perfect striker for David Moyes and for the way West Ham play under David Moyes. Now, I did a video a couple of months ago suggesting this, and since then I think he's actually improved under Steven Gerrard. I think a couple of months ago I didn't think it was quite working for Ollie Watkins under Steven Gerrard, and I thought he might be gettable in the summer. I'm not too sure anymore. The Guardian have done this rumour and they've reported him at 50 million. I'm not sure you'd get him for 50 million actually. I think he might be a bit more than that. 26 years old, England international, just got his 10th goal in the Premier League of the season, got 14 last season as well, so back-to-back seasons of double digits for scoring in the Premier League, which is it's better than it sounds, I think. I don't think it sounds too impressive. Oh wow, a striker got 10 goals, whoop-de-doo. But I think it's harder than what you expect actually, because when you go, I know at the minute you'd be thinking, well, that's not enough for West Ham, we're going to spend money, we want our striker to be getting 15 goals. I agree with that, but I think there used to be like a magic number of 20 goals a season for a striker, didn't there? Maybe it's just me, I feel like 20 goals a season was almost the barometer for a good Premier League striker, but I think it's gone now. I think football's changed. I think your wingers score more goals, your attacking midfielders score more goals, and especially at West Ham, in Man City you don't even have a striker, but especially at West Ham under David Moyes, where your striker's got to do more than score goals. I know it sounds mental, imagine only having a striker just to score goals. But all you have to do actually is take a look at the Premier League goal scoring charts. This season we've only got 2 players on 20 goals, Salah and Son. Last season there was only 2 that finished it with 20 goals or greater. Salah and Kane, world class players. West Ham aren't there yet. We're not ready to get world class players. We can't afford them, and we probably can't attract them unless we've got Champions League football. So this is the type of striker I feel this is what we should be chasing. These elite strikers in the league, and I think Ollie Watkins fits that. But the reason I don't think Aston Villa will sell him, or need to sell him, is because while he's the age, the goal scoring record, English international, Villa just don't need the money, and I think they're good negotiators as well. Look at the Jack Grealish thing, and I know before someone says, well, City met his release clause, he didn't really have an option. It's not like Villa negotiated 100 million, no. But what Aston Villa did 12 months prior was negotiate the 100 million release clause with Jack Grealish, so that when City did come knocking, they got the 100 million up front and they could go on a spending spree. Now that spending spree hasn't quite worked out, has it? I think we can all agree that. But it doesn't mean they're bad at negotiating. Just didn't identify the right players to replace Jack Grealish. That's all. 2 different things. As for Ollie Watkins, I think he's got it all for David Moyes. I think he would work perfectly under us. And if we had an unlimited transfer kitty this summer, I would love to see him in the different claret and blue next season. But I don't believe this transfer rumour. I'm not sure Aston Villa are in any rush to sell him. And thirdly, I don't think it represents good value for money. Really good player, but I think there'd probably be better players out there for 60 million. However, is 60 million too much for who could be the perfect player for our manager? I don't think it is. But I guess it depends on whether you think Ollie Watkins is the perfect manager for the way West Ham play under David Moyes or not. Me, yes. A lot of people, no. Anyway, before we get on to the other three, this video is sponsored by the One Football app, the best way of keeping up to date with all these transfer rumours, and it really is. It is much easier when all you have to do is click on the One Football app, click on your profile, click on your West Ham badge because you've already selected them as your favourite team. Then it's got all the news. You just scroll down, there you go, this player's linked with West Ham, that player's linked with West Ham, happy days. Click, read, click back, go on to the next one. All the news for your club in one place on this fantastic football app, and best of all, it's completely free. Please use the link in the description or the pinned comments of this video underneath here to get it downloaded on your device. It takes about 15 seconds, and then on Sunday, just before the Man City game, an hour before the Man City game, you say, oi, lineups are out, click here to have a look. Bish Bash Bosh, got everything you need as a football fan, keeping up with your football club. Now let's move on to Eddie Nketiah. This is an interesting one because nobody really knows what's going to happen. About a month ago, for context, Eddie Nketiah has only got a month to go in his contract. He's out of contract at the end of this season. And a month ago, he looked dead cert to be leaving the Emirates on a free. He was going to be up for grabs. 22-year-old striker. Who wants him for free? It's changed a bit now because he's starting games for Arsenal. He's got 4 in his last 5. Sounds good, doesn't it? He's only scored in 2 games in his last 5. Sounds alright, doesn't it? But in those games, he's got a brace in both games. But his issue at Arsenal has always been lack of game time. So whenever he goes, he's going to want reassurances he's going to get minutes on the pitch. That's what Eddie Nketiah wants. And I've got absolutely no issue with the player just wanting to play football. A bit like Jesse Lingard when we took him last January from Man United on loan. He just wanted to play football. That's, in my opinion, in the modern day, I think that should actually be applauded a little bit more often. Now, it shouldn't be applauded. Every footballer should want to play as much minutes as possible, and 95% of them probably do. But there is that 5% who seem okay with not playing. Anyway, I'm getting off a tangent here. Back to Eddie Nketiah. His form and his game time recently, I imagine he's thrown a bit of a curveball at him. Not Arsenal. I think Arsenal's always been keen to extend his contract. But I don't think Nketiah's been keen to stay at the Emirates beyond the summer. But now he's getting game time on the pitch and he's showing Arsenal what he can do, and his goals don't tell the full story. I think his performances have been really good as well. I think he fits what Arteta's trying to do. Arteta has proven to Nketiah and others as well as at the club and away from Arsenal that he'll play the youngsters. If the youngsters are good enough, Arteta will play them. So that's got to be reassuring for Nketiah as well. I'd imagine he's just been a bit annoyed, if you like, that Aubameyang got to play so often bang out of form for Arsenal this season. Lacazette went in there also not out of form. I think he scored 2 goals from open play all season or something silly like that. Not great figures from either of those strikers. So Nketiah's publicly said the other day, I've not had 3 games in a row. Give me 3 games in a row. Well, he's got 5. He scored 4. So he's proving his point, I guess. So, will he leave Arsenal? I mean, that's the first question. I'm not too sure. I imagine he'll be there next season because they'll have European football. And this is where European football has to help West Ham next season. And I think we took advantage of it with the Areola transfer. I think when we signed Areola, I felt that the good thing is we've got the Europa League. So we can, even when you're trying to convince Areola to come and compete with Fabianski, you can say even if Fabianski does the league games, there's still the Europa League, there's still the League Cup, there's still the FA Cup. There's enough game time to go around more than one man per position. When you've only got the Premier League, there still is enough game time. It's more difficult, isn't it, to convince somebody. If you were trying to sign a right back for West Ham right now, or say a left back, sorry, you're trying to get a new left back, I think you'd have a bit of a job convincing them, without European football, that they're going to get enough game time at West Ham next season, because they're going to look at Creswell and they're going to think, well, hang on a minute, that guy starts regardless. He starts every single week, clearly an important part of your team. However, you throw European football into the mix, and I think you've got a stronger case there. It says, yeah, there's enough minutes to go around here. And this is where I would like to see us take advantage with the striker role next season, because we can't have just Antonio, but I think you could get away with Antonio, Nketiah and a other. So would I love Nketiah at West Ham? I would. Does it help that he's free? Of course it does. We were linked to him a year ago for about 10 million. I was quite keen then, but you were taking a bit of a gamble because you hadn't really seen him. But now that you've seen him, you become more interested. Unfortunately, there's more clubs interested, including Arsenal. So it's a bit of a difficult one. I kind of believe the rumour. I think if he was to leave Arsenal, I would expect us to be in for him. Why would we not be in for him? I've struggled to come up with a reason. I think the problem is convincing him he would get enough minutes at West Ham, or more minutes at West Ham than he would at Arsenal next season, because they're going to have some form of European football next year. Anyway, the next two, let's do Broja of Southampton. He's bang out of form, isn't he? Do you know how many goals Broja has scored? Actually, let me change that. Let me go for something different. Do you remember when we played them at the start of February and they beat us 3-1 and he scored? He scored in that game, didn't he, Broja? That's the last time he scored. That's the last goal Broja scored this season. He hasn't scored in his last 12. Now, I'm being a bit naughty because I'm including the games for Albania in there, so I'm including his international form, so no goal in 12. But the reason I'm being a bit naughty is because I'm waiting to big him up. Despite his goal drought, I would just love him at West Ham. Now, while I think Ollie Watkins is perhaps the perfect player for David Moyes today, I think Broja could be, but we need a little bit of work. Do you know what I mean? I think he's a bit more of an Arnautovic, which is David Moyes needs to mould him a little bit to make him fit up front. And if I had to pick between the two, it would be Broja any day. And this is what I was trying to argue with myself more than anything at the start of the video in terms of value, because he wouldn't cost 60 million. You might get him for 30 million. If anything, his goal drought helps us, because when at the start of the season, I think Chelsea would have been looking at it thinking, there's no way we're selling him. We're keeping him next season. He's got a part to play. But now, because he's struggling a little bit at Southampton, I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea think, not too sure anymore. I'm not keen on him next season at Chelsea. So I think he's actually more approachable for West Ham. I think his transfer value has stopped. I think it was every goal he scored was going up. It was 20 million, 25, 30. He's been tipped up 40, 50 million for the summer. It's coming back down a bit, back to the 30-ish million. I think that would be a bargain in a few years to come. I think he's got it all. I'm not bothered about his lack of goals recently. I think Southampton have been on the beach since they beat us 3-1, funnily enough. So I think he's got everything. Power, pace. He's quite mobile for such a big guy, really good in the air. And the goals he has scored this season, they are really good. He doesn't often get a tap in. He's not just knocking it in the net from 5 yards out, which there's nothing wrong with, by the way. But he's not really scoring them. Half his goals are almost like individual efforts as well. I would love him at West Ham next season. Absolutely love him. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I'll be surprised if he's at Stamford Bridge next year. I would be surprised. So where is he going to go? I think that's a big question. Also, does he go out on loan for another season, or will Chelsea sell him? The only problem is, we know when you buy players from Chelsea, they often want some clauses in there, whether it be a buyback clause or a sell-on clause. I'm okay with either, because I think that's how you get these players. Unfortunately, you have to sort of compromise a little. Look at Crystal Palace with Elise. £35 million release clause Elise's got. But it's probably the only reason Olise would go to Crystal Palace, because with the greatest of respect to them, he would have seen them as a stepping stone. He would have thought, right, I'll go there, I'll do it in the Premier League, and I'll get my move to a bigger club. And he's got making sure that 35 million, making sure that if I do it, I can get out of there. Someone will come and pay that. Now, obviously, he's in negotiations with the club to extend it to 50 million, understandably so, from Palace's point of view. But sometimes you've just got to, unfortunately, accept something like this in the deal. Like Tammy Abraham at Roma, Chelsea have got a clause in that deal as well, that they can get him back for a certain price if they wish to. So I'd be okay with that. Anyway, the last one is Brereton Diaz. Now, there was rumours that our Alan Irvine, that was at the game at the weekend. He obviously scored quite a good goal in the game. But he's not been great, has he? I think he was in unbelievable form at the start of the season, wasn't he? He just kept on scoring. I remember when he hit his 20th league goal. Now, the reason I remember it is because there was a few Blackburn fans had bet on him to score 20 league goals this season. So last season he was deployed as a midfielder or an attacking midfielder, and then they sold Armstrong to Southampton. This was Diaz was Armstrong's replacement. He was going to be the striker at Blackburn. And I think Blackburn fans knew this, but the bookies didn't. And it was big odds. I can't remember. It was 1,000 to 1, I think, for him to score 20 league goals or something. And there's a few Blackburn fans with like a tenner on and stuff. So obviously, start of the season, bang, 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 kept scoring. It's like, wow, hang on, they've won this. So I remember him scoring that 20th league goal of the season, because it was like, oh, well done to all those Blackburn fans. He's got 22 goals this season. I mean, it's good, but he hit 20 months ago. So how's he only on 22? Now, I'm aware he's been injured for a while, but I think he's scored 3 goals in 2020. The calendar year 2022, 3 goals he scored. One of them was for Chile. It wasn't even for Blackburn. So I've gone off him quite a bit. I mean, when I say gone off him, I wasn't particularly keen in the first place due to my lack of knowledge of him. And I'm a bit wary, I'll be honest. I was a bit wary with the whole converted striker thing a little bit. I'd rather just have like a natural striker there. I guess you could argue Watkins to some extent has been sort of converted. Originally played on the left wing for Brentford and then got moved up front once Neil Maupay went to Brighton. But I think this is a bit different. So I still haven't seen loads of him. I don't watch loads of Blackburn, but I've just went off it in terms of his stats. And I think because the hype's died down around him, I think my excitement around him's died down as well. And like I said, this excitement was limited to... I just think we've got to be aiming for a better calibre of striker. Now, Keane Lewis Potter I'm okay with, because you're buying somebody, and I know Diaz is young as well. I guess I'm going to contradict myself here, but I think with Lewis Potter you can accept a youngster in the attacking midfield role because you won't rely on him immediately. He'd only have to play half the season next year because we've got enough cover in that area. But with a striker, I think it's important we get somebody in that almost like is too good to leave out. You know what I mean? Someone that comes in and almost knocks Antonio to the bench automatically just because of how good that player is. Lewis Potter doesn't do that, but that's okay because you don't need him to. You don't need him immediately to put Fornals or Benrahma on the bench. Between them, there's enough there. Up front, you could argue there'd be enough between Diaz and Antonio. I just want better. I just want someone better than Diaz as that striker. I want the I call it the big ticket signing. I want that big ticket signing for the striker role. And I think it's important we get one because Antonio's got a huge role next season at West Ham, a massive role. It might not be a striker. It might be alongside the striker, on the left, whatever. There was a few games this season I found myself wishing we had a good enough striker to play so that Antonio could play on the left for us, actually, because I think he's looked good at times this season down the channel, beating his man, putting the crosses in. And I would like us to get adequate strikers in this summer so that Antonio can play in other positions rather than just striker, because he's got that about him, hasn't he? He's got a big role to play next season, but I want someone in that's striker that stops him being automatic first choice striker next season. Anyway, I'm waffling now, apologies. There's your transfer rumours. So Ollie Watkins, would love him, think he's a bit too expensive though. I'm not convinced Villa would sell him. Brereton Diaz, I'm not too keen. He's got a year to go on his contract though. I forgot about that bit of context. He's technically still showing as out of contract this summer, but Blackburn have got an automatic 1 year extension, so he's got a further year to go. However, there's believed to be a bit of a gentleman's agreement between Diaz and Blackburn that he can go this summer for a reasonable fee, and that's why they kept him beyond January. I understand why they didn't sell him in January, by the way. They had a shot at Premier League football. They didn't get it. They missed out on the playoffs. I think they finished 8th. I could be wrong on that. I think they finished 8th or 9th anyway. So a bit of a end the season with a little bit of a whimper. But look, Diaz is leaving Blackburn this summer though. Then we've got Nketiah. I'm not sure he's leaving Arsenal though, but if he does, we'd love him at West Ham, especially on a free. And then Broja. Now that's the guy I would absolutely love at West Ham. I would love 3 of these players at West Ham. It all comes down to pound notes, I guess, and if they're interested. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you enjoyed this video somehow, please do drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you in a bit.